colleagues, my motion is an urgent need to address the incident of the rock slide that buried alive over 30 informal miners in a gold mining site in Forindoki community in Shiroro local government of Niger State. The Senate knows that on Monday, 3rd June 2024, a catastrophic rock slide occurred at a gold mine, which led to at least over 30 local informal miners buried alive in the Forindoki community near Erana in Shiroro local government, located within the Niger East Senatorial District of Niger State. The miners, in their quest for gold and lithium minerals, met their untimely end as the avalanche carved in, burying them under tons of rubble. Also note that this unfortunate and tragic incident underscored the urgent need for comprehensive and holistic action to be taken in order to frontally address the dangers faced and posed by local mining activities taking place across the country. Mr. President, further note that in view of the vast mineral resources in the region, it is imperative to secure the mining sites in order to forestall future occurrences and avoid further loss of life. This will go a long way to ensure that mining activities are conducted safely and legally to prevent future tragedies and improve the overall well-being of miners across the country. Worried that the bodies of the deceased who are victims of this unfortunate event are yet to be recovered for proper and dignified burial by their respective families, to this end, conscious efforts should be made by relevant agencies of government for the recovery of the bodies of the deceased for burial, and aware that at a time like this, Nigeria is desirous of diversifying its economy. The mining subsector is lucrative enough and should be adequately exploited for the socio-economic development of this country. As such, the appropriate authorities should, as a matter of urgency and necessity, initiate thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the incident so as to identify any existing lapses as they relate to safety regulations and enforcement in the sector. And as part of remedies to bring sanity to the system, strict regulations should be introduced in order to protect the lives of those who depend on this industry for their livelihood. It is also apt for the relevant committees of the National Assembly to step up the oversight of mining activities taking place across the country for the purpose of harnessing the benefits that abound in the mining sector. Accordingly, results: 1, to observe a minute's silence in honor of the victims. Commend the Minister of Solid Minerals for his swift and proactive response in monitoring the situation at the mining sites. 3, urge the federal government to come out with strict safety measures and regulations on mining activities in Nigeria in line with international best practices, and deploy adequate security apparatus to the mining communities in order to maintain vigilance around mining areas to prevent further incursions and intrusions by informal miners. Also urge the National Emergency Management Agency and other relevant agencies of government to expedite actions on the recovery of the remains of the deceased in the catastrophe to ensure that the bereaved families can have final closure. And finally, mandate the Committee on Solid Minerals to conduct an on-the-spot assessment of the sites to ascertain the remote and immediate cause of the rock slide and accelerate the passage of the Mine Rangers Bill currently before the Senate. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Asuku Ekwenyo, can you second the motion?
Our commiseration to the deceased families. Mr. President, this is a very sad moment in the history of this country. Although mining incidents happen even in developed countries with a better mining equipment, But what happened in the Niger State actually clearly spells dangers, very many dangers across the country because of the rampant illegal mining in this sector. It runs almost everywhere, from Oshun to Zamfara to Bauchi to Plateau and several other states. So this underscores the importance of making sure that the government particularly pays attention into the mining sector, because this is just the first one that we're witnessing. And if care is not taken, it will spread all across the country. Because of the situation in the country, because of the hardship, people get into this mining without adequately knowing the repercussion and the danger associated with this kind of illegal mining. So once we put our acts together as a parliament, and thanking the sponsor of the motion, because the right thing must be done. And when the right thing must be done, we minimize the issues of these incidences and we minimize the casualties that will come after it. It is very imperative that the government must pay attention. The mining is taking over farming in the entire scope of northern Nigeria. So therefore, a special attention must be paid to the possible repercussions in the mining sector. I am sure government is bedeviled with serious attention from left, right, and center. And therefore, it is important that this motion is taken seriously, and it is imperative that this motion should not just be limited to what you discussed on the floor. The Committee on Legislative Compliance must be able to make sure that something is done and done timely, so that before other things happen in other domains, this particular matter is nipped in the bud and making sure that these bodies are first recovered. I think it is disheartening that these miners are still trapped. That means the whole issue of mining as a country, we are not ready for it. Where mining is seen as a pastime, like in South Africa, in Australia, there is no way people will be allowed to be trapped for up to 12 to 24 hours. But 4 days down the line, these miners are there. I'm sure by the time you reach them, you only find bones at the end of the day. And that is not good for this country. And I'm sure we will do everything possible. The government must do everything possible in making sure that this doesn't happen. And if it happens, there must be a remedy whereby bodies or people that are involved have gotten some way out of the rubbles, because it is really disheartening. Families of these people don't even know whether these people are dead. They are just presumed dead hypothetically, but no, because nobody sees the body, nobody could reach them, so it is neither here nor there. So I support this motion. I should be seen to be a very serious motion, and it should be supported by all and sundry in this chamber. Thank you.
To Senator Nelda.
Natasha Akboki came out with a bill on this same subject matter of illegal mining in our country. And I think we all overwhelmingly supported it. So I thank again Senator Musa Sani, who also supported a bill. And this motion is very apt, and I think it speaks very clearly and deeply into the worries, into the problems that surrounds illegal mining in our country. What happened in Shiroro demonstrates very clearly one of those consequences of illegal mining. Yes, we all know that there's hardship in the country, but our government, we must pay serious mind to what is happening in our environments, in our communities. Besides the environmental degradation that illegal mining portends, this also demonstrates the physical loss of lives of Nigerians who, for whatever reason, go into this business. Again, we tend to pay lip service to diversification of our economy. The quantity of gold we have in this country and the value of it is such that Nigerians have no business being poor. There's no reason why we cannot lift up Nigerians from poverty, because God has endowed us with these minerals, but we have for some reason ignored tapping on them to help our citizenry. So I urge us to support this motion and see how we can bring it in line with the bill that came up yesterday, so that we can all, in a very holistic manner, try to assemble and to put everything in focus in such a way that we can have one holistic bill that can take care of all these problems in all our communities. It's not just gold. There are so many other minerals in this country that is illegally tapped. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anyone from here? Then from you, then Mohammed will round up.
I think one of the major problems of the mining sector in this country is the lack of legal and institutional frameworks that guides the mining sector. I think it is high time, by way of necessary legislative intervention, just like Senator Natasha proposed for gold, as rightly alluded to by Senator Neda, there is need for a holistic legislation, just like the PIB that we did for the petroleum industry sector, a holistic legislation that guides mining in the country, rather than leaving it for the whims and caprices of various ministers of governments, subjecting it to policy somersault and what have you. So there is need for a legislative framework, especially against the backdrop of the fact that we are now preaching the gospel of diversification of the economy away from oil to agriculture and then the mining sector, in order for us to earn the much needed revenue. So I think the National Assembly should invoke the powers that is conferred on it by Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, make the necessary legislation to guide the sector, rather than allowing it to the whims and caprices of various government officials, as the case may be. Thank you.
Senator Onao Mohammed Ogoshi, round up the debate so that we can move to the prayers.
As we have experienced in this country, is a thing that happens on a daily basis due to lack of planning, lack of inspection, lack of monitoring, lack of education, and so many things that have been happening. Most of these miners go into mining without designs, and they do not do an assessment of what is likely going to happen, especially those who mine underground. If they do open pit mining, there will be no problem because all the overburden will be taken out. But they go into, because they want to save costs, they don't want to clear the overburden, they go underground. And some of these underground tunnels go as far as 10, 25 kilometers. And in the process, because they know that, the laborers know that whenever they go in there, they must come out with something. And that something that they are coming out is enough money for them to sustain their family for a long time. So they risk their lives. So there will be need for the government to make sure that most of this, or all of these mines, whether gold or any other mine that is going to go underground, must properly be designed and approved. And safety measures are taken and prepared for each miner, and safety apparatus must be provided for the miners before they go underground. Because if you go, some of these mines have ventilations, but they don't provide. If they don't have ventilations, when mines collapse, they will have no escape route. when people come to help, they will not have a way to go, especially if it is a rocky area. So, sir, I urge that this Senate will take appropriate measure to ask the compliance committee to look at what the mining industry is doing with the view of supporting the system to work well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We go to the prayers.
Yes.
Prayer 1, observe it. Commend the Minister of Solid Mineral for his swift and proactive response in monitoring the situation at the mining site. Those in favor of the prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Urge the federal government to come out with strict safety measures and regulations on mining activities in Nigeria in line with international best practices and deploy adequate security apparatus to the mining communities in order to maintain vigilance around mining areas to prevent further incursions and intrusion by informal miners. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Also, urge the National Emergency Management Agency and other relevant agencies of government to expedite actions on the recovery of the remains of the deceased in the catastrophe to ensure that the bereaved families can have final closure. Those in favor of the prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5, mandate the Committee on Solid Mineral to conduct an on-the-spot assessment of the site to ascertain the remote and immediate cause of the rock slide and accelerate the passage of the Mine Ranger Bill currently before the Senate. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. A minute silence, please. Can we stand up for a minute silence in honor of the deceased? Amen. Can we sit down? Fortunate and very sad that the incidents occur in the first place. This brings to light the need for the government to strengthen the regulation of the solid mineral sector. We know the government of the day is doing very well in this regard, but it has been a cause of concern that we have a lot of illegal miners that are exploiting the resources that belongs to the people of this country without paying what is due to the government. And I'm sure if that is done, the government will be put in the best place to acquire all the necessary equipment and expertise to solve this kind of problem or to even stop it from happening. But the government is being shortchanged. It's being shortchanged. The government is not having what is due to it. Payments are not made to it, but people exploit these minerals owned by government, owned by the people of this country, without paying necessary fees to the government. And this is not what is being done in other parts of the world. We need to move to make sure that our solid mineral resources are exploited in line with international best practice. So it is on this note that all and sundry should come together to assist the government of the day in its resolve to deal with this matter decisively, making sure that whatever is due to the government is paid into the coffers of the government, but not allow even sometimes foreigners coming in to exploit these minerals, taking them away to their countries without paying the government what is due to it. So we need to be up and doing, not only the Ministry of Petroleum Mineral, but all of us, including the Senate, try to see how we can assist the government in making sure that the exploitation of our soil mineral resources is done in line with international best practice, and whatever that is supposed to go to the coffers of government goes into the coffers of government. Once again, I thank everyone that contributed to this debate, particularly the sponsor of the motion. Leader of the Senate.